Well, hey there, you're on the internet. Welcome to Shimmertastic Week and Change. And welcome to the Triple N Network, where all you newbie nip nerds can find all the news you'll need. Let's look at an ink today, shall we? Now, today's ink is part of the Shimmertastic Series, which is 10 inks, which is why it's a week and change. And, yeah, this is number 4 of 10, because I'm going through them alphabetically. Because if I don't know, I had to figure, alphabetically. Anyways, so all of these inks were provided by the Benefactor from Down Under. They initially wanted to be called, I can't remember if it was He Who Shall Not Be Named or They Who Shall Not Be Named, but either way, I love that. But anyways, if you appreciate these reviews, send him some, good vibes, mental love, I don't know. Thank you, gratitude, much appreciated. Provided me with the whole set along with Emerald of Chivor, and today's Golden Sands, which, holy moly, you can see all that glitteriness. Yeah, so this is a yellowy color, or a gold yellow color with gold, so it is gold on gold, and as I say somewhere in the test, Goldfinger, eat your heart out, because, wow, yep. Now, the 2 pens I used were these. This is a JinHao X450 with a, I love my X450s because they all tend to be pretty broad and pretty wet, and this one definitely is. Who's calling me right now? Shush, I'm busy. And I also used this Pilot MR. This is not a Metropolitan, although it, let's be real, essentially is a Metropolitan, except for one key feature. Take Standard International. I love this thing. Now, as you can probably tell, I still haven't gotten all of the glitter out of this converter. And it's caking around the bottom, like near the plunger. But yeah, so, glitter, man. I hate glitter. And as I've said in the previous reviews all week, for all of these tests, I used a Pilot Metropolitan, or something similar like this MR, and every single one of them has had what I call glitter pileup. And what is glitter pileup, you ask? It's when the glitter piles up like bumper-to-bumper traffic in the feed. And so one bit gets caught, the next bit gets caught behind it, so on, so on, so on. And cleaning it out is the opposite of fun. For me personally, I don't know, maybe you're into that. But, yeah, it sucked, and it causes some flow issues. However, throughout the entire line of inks, I've noticed that whatever the base color is, so today's is this canary yellow, flows quite wet. So, yeah, it's a weird contrast. Dries quickly on the nib, but flows very abundantly. And in every single Metro or Metro derivative I've got, pile up. So, yeah, there's that. Anyways, so there are not many inks out there on the market with this glittery thing to them. JinHao has 4, now 5, and none of them look anything like this. So I don't have anything that looks like this that glitters. So I had to find something that matched sort of the more base bottom color. And the thing is, I don't have many yellows because people don't make a lot of yellows, and it's hard for me to see light colors on a page, so I don't use them very often, so I didn't have many. But anyway, so here's Golden Sands, and the thing is, it's hard to see the gold under the gold, but it's there. Yeah, so here's Golden Sands. Here's the next closest thing I had, which is JinHao Orange Scented Amber. I don't know, it's Orange Scented Amber, which is amazingly close. It's amazingly close. And it does not smell like oranges. It smells like, I forget what it's called, but there's this kind of soap that's for, like, mechanics and things. It's very gritty to, like, help, like, actually scrub things off your skin. I love it, especially as an ink user to help get ink off of my skin. But it has this weird, really weird, like, like the tree that hangs on your rear view mirror, artificial smell, but orange. That's what that smells like. So, yeah, that's fun. Another JinHao, which is Ambre de Bermenie, which is very similar, if maybe a bit lighter than Orange Scented Amber. Still extremely close. Again, I don't have many yellows. So here's Pilot Mixable Yellow, which is much brighter and shades more. And actually, like, when you see the two together, this one looks dull compared to this, which is saying something, because this is gold. And Ackerman number 22, Hupjesbrun, or Upjesbrun. I have no idea how to pronounce it, but apparently it's some kind of like butterscotch candy. And that's much more orange and tan. Yep. Now, brace with me because I'm going to try and zoom in. Now, what's interesting about these chromatographies is they reminded me very much of a chromatography for an ink that I hated because it was so dull, which was Diamine's, I think, dark brown, which was color of cardboard boxes. And all this through here was almost exactly the same to that ink. And the chromatography was sort of like this flat, kind of like muted orangey gold color with this super pale sea foamy kind of color up the top with utterly no water resistance. So yeah, which is funny because that was like the dullest color in the world, but this stuff is pretty goldy. Now the one on the left here with the little D at the top, that is the dried version. This is the standard version, but both, as you can see, all of the gold remains where the initial line was put. And there's just big empty space, orangey color seafoam. Now, pretty much the only difference is this area around where the initial drop was put. With the dried one, it stayed a bit darker. That's about it. Zooming back out now. Now, here are some chemical tests. Water really got it moving. Bleach, I don't know if the camera's going to pick this up, but it is just the faintest hint of pink. Like, you can barely see it. Oh my god. Yeah, there you can see the glitter. Oh god. Ammonia pen flush got it moving, but since it's a chemical, it started to react with the page. Same with hydrogen peroxide. Just water, man. Lots and lots and lots of water, and then more water, and then a sonic cleaner or something. Now, top down in density. Oh, dear god. Clairefontaine, 90 grams per square meter. Yeah, if you hold it at like a sharp angle, you can see that it actually has lovely shading. It's got very distinct shading. Isn't that nice? It's cool. And you can see the sort of dark outline around the wettest parts. Now this ink had pretty epic dry times. The previous tests were like on the long side, definitely, but here we start getting a little nuts. So that Japanese medium took 24 seconds to dry. The broad and wet JinHao took 47. I usually stop counting at 30, and as you can see from this smear, it went absolutely off the page. Yeah, which is interesting because when I bring this in, I kind of want you to see this. This is not the most dense color of yellow, which I think is why it shades so much underneath all that glitter, because thinner inks tend to shade a lot more, but, or they can. And so actually where it's thin, it's very thin. Like you can absolutely see all the lines from the quadrilateral paper. Even here in the darkest parts, you can see it. This is not a very dense yellow ink, but it is, I mean, look at that. That is all gold glitter. Everywhere. Like every inch. Although you can see with the MR, it's getting like thinner and thinner and thinner. So we're starting to experience the pile up. But yeah, holy mother of God. So much glitter. I am traumatized by glitter, quite literally. That's what happens when you TA a kindergarten art class. The glitter never really comes out. Anyways, yeah, kind of like the chromatography suggested, there's essentially no water resistance. In fact, the camera is darkening that up. We can see a little bit of the downward lines and the larger dots, which is the X450. But yeah, that's darkened up a little bit. This is like barely noticeable. Yeah, so there's that. I can talk. Next up is Fabriano, 85 grams per square meter. Echo Copier Paper. This is my favorite paper to write on. It's lovely. Yeah, so we're going to keep it at this sharp angle. Again, we can see this lovely degree of shading. It's a very pronounced degree of shading. Here in the scrubby, the bottom scrubby, you can see this dark outline, this halo. Yeah, again, that Japanese medium took 22 seconds to dry. And that fairly broad, fairly wet JinHao took 42 seconds to dry. Look at the huge smear. And once again, it's just gold, gold, and more gold. Yeah. Holy moly. Now, again, here, like even in the densest parts, when we look at it at a sharp angle, we can still see all the lines from the quadrilateral paper. It is still a fairly light yellow. It's not the darkest yellow, and you can kind of see that in the writing here. And then, of course, when you turn it to the side, it's just glitter, glitter, glitter. So, yeah, maybe put it in a wetter pen, or just keep lots of bright lights around whenever you have to read it. But yeah, not a lot of water resistance. What's weird is, I don't know why, but the top of these letters remained a lot, and I don't really know why. The X450 you can see a little bit of. The camera's increasing the contrast, maybe, but it's not this dark in real life. But yeah, I don't know. So maybe if you spill something on it and you need to read it, crack out a video camera. I don't know, could work. Now, next up is Rhodia, 80 grams per square meter. And again, we can see here, lots of shading, very distinct shading, even in this Japanese medium. And here we get this very dark sort of haloed outline in the scrubby for the X450. But again, even there, even in the darkest parts, we can see all the lines for the quadrilateral paper. This is it's not the densest ink, you know, when it comes to like just ink color. Yeah. It's a very bright yellow. It totally, you know, like it sings gold, like the whole thing. But yeah, so that Japanese medium, which is like a Western fine, still took 21 seconds to dry because the yellow component, whatever this yellow is, it is wet flowing. So that's coming out just on parade. You know, this stuff, the yellow component is really, really wanting to come out. But here, we're starting to see, like through here, I hope this will come through. This is the MR. It's struggling. It's struggling to get the glitter out, whereas this X450, it's just glitter, glitter everywhere. But here, it's starting to, it's like in little burps. So, yeah, this is right after I prime the feed, because as you can probably see from the loopies, it's not that I had to like get it moving again. This was, yeah, the pilot feeds are just, I was really struggling with this brand. Now, the water test, what's interesting is this like did not dye the page at all, which is weird. But we do have just the barest little hints of this yellow, and again, the camera's making it more obvious, but yeah, a little something remains. But yeah, anyways, with all of these, no bleed, no feather, no spread, no echo, no sheen, all very well behaved in that regard. Now, next up is Tomoe River paper, which is known for drawing out shading and sheen, and dry times and echo. Now, dry times it most certainly did. This Japanese medium took 31 seconds to dry. Usually, I stop counting at 30. I've made some allowances with this brand of ink, because, this line of ink, the Shimmertastic line, because logically it makes sense. I have seen across the board that the under ink component is wet flowing. It's got particulates in it, which increase the dry time. It's, for the most part, they've been well saturated, which most well saturated inks take longer to dry. This ink is not well saturated, and the dry times are reaching ridiculous levels. When a Japanese medium, which is like a Western fine, takes 31 seconds to dry, even on Tomoe River, that's kind of baffling. And like I said, I usually stop counting at 30 seconds. Here, for the smear test for that X450, I counted to a minute, and it still wasn't dry. And at that point, I was like, well, no, I'm not counting anymore. So yeah, because at that point, I had to like, you know, I needed to get on with the rest of the test. Yeah, we can see shading, we can see the halo, we can see the dark outline, and again, that X450 is glittering a lot more than that MR, which you can see is kind of patchy, it's coming out in burps. And I don't know how clearly this is going to come through because there are no lines on here, but this is very thin. In fact, like, some of this is hard to read. The writing with the MR is so light, it's hard to read. unless you turn to the side or, you know, get the way where it gets the glitter. But since it's coming out in little burps, it's not even glittering across the board anymore. Like, you see how part of the A in shading, part of the H, it's not, yeah, there's problems. But yeah, this paper loves to let ink just slide away when you add more water. And it kind of did, but not completely. And that's because it took just so long to dry. Good Lord. It really had an opportunity to sink in. There's no bleed, no feather, no spread, no sheen, but in some areas, like where, you know, the X450 laid it on pretty thick, I don't know, maybe there's some echo, but you'd have to be really sensitive, or maybe the scrubbies, but again, I was laying it on thick. Now, the next 3 tests, I only used that Japanese medium, except to write the name. And yeah, so this is the world's worst 20-pound copier paper. It is right up there with, it could quite possibly be the worst paper I've ever encountered. It's terrible. Now let's compare line width. So this is the same pen. This is that medium, Japanese medium, the MR. There's intense spread. The line width has gotten much broader. There is feathering and woolliness, and it takes on this really weird quality. The only thing I can think to call it is not good shading, because where there would be shading in normal writing, that's the areas where it tends to sort of balloon out and explode and feather. It took 3 seconds to dry. It's just hideous. There's lots of show through because, I mean, look at this. Now again, this is not a heavily saturated ink. And this is a Japanese medium. Yes, it's wet flowing, but this is, I mean, I can read this. That's hideous. And it's a light color, and because it's more absorbent paper, it tends to, like, sort of dull an ink or even lighten it sometimes, and since it's already a yellow, this is not the most fun thing to try and read. And look at this water test. More absorbent papers tend to draw the ink in, make it harder to wash out, and I don't know what happened here. It was like it couldn't make up its mind, so it just, like, pancaked. And just, ugh. That would be the opposite of fun to try and recover. Now, next up is Mead-like paper. I ran out of actual legit Mead and had to use a Staples off-brand. But, yeah, this stuff is like magic because it's been super well behaved. Like, here we get shading. Like, what? 8 seconds to dry? And we essentially get no feathering. I circled the only places I thought might be feathers, but look, they're so small. You can barely see them, and then on top of that, it's yellow, so it's barely noticeable anyways. But yeah, as you might be able to tell, there's not much glitter in the writing. There is with that X450, but it's hard to notice here. Now it mostly just looks like a tan yellow thing, but we do get halo effect around the wettest parts here. But I don't know, this stuff is like magic. I don't know, it's acting strange. But yeah, no water resistance whatsoever. It's pretty much all there. But yeah, I need to find some real Mead. Lastly is moleskin paper, which I hate because it is horribly made, and they make you pay a lot for it. And even before I bring this in, you can probably see a lot of what's going wrong here. Yeah, you can see the texture of the pulp that they mashed into paper. It is an intense woolliness and bleed and spread. And it's just hideous looking. And then, bear in mind, yes, this is wet flowing ink, but this is a Japanese medium. Look at all this. This made a mess of the page below. You know what's interesting? This right here, that's the X450. I don't know why. I don't know. Maybe it's because all the glitter piling up, sort of acting like a sieve and only letting that wet flowing yellow through. Maybe it was like turning on a hose. But yeah, so that was interesting. And then let's look at this water test. That's a disaster. Again, it's like it couldn't decide whether it wanted to hold on or let go, and so it just made a mess. So yeah. So there you go. There's Diamine's Golden Sands from the Shimmertastic series. It's, well, none of these things are really my jam, because I'm traumatized with glitter. But this is like, I mean, this is just gold, gold, and more gold. Maybe be careful with it in, not be careful with it, but go into it with the knowledge that if you're using one of the, you know, standard, like, interchangeable, because, you know, so much of Pilot is, like, the feeds and the nibs and stuff on their very entry-level pens, they're interchangeable, so they're essentially the same. 5 different Metropolitan or Metropolitan-like pens. Every single one has the same problem, the glitter pile up. But this is so golden-y. I mean, it's gold on gold on gold. If this is what you're looking for, yeah. Holy Mother of God. Anyways, for your consideration from the Triple N Network, if you like the video, please give it a thumbs up. If you'd like to see more, please subscribe to the channel. And thanks for watching. Bye.